Hello, this is Joseph Gillette Sr. with Venture Capital Cross, and this video is about demystifying venture capital. A lot of people look at venture capital like an asset class, as there are many asset classes in investment markets, and they hear stories or read news, and they can be intimidating as if it's something complicated about venture capital. But what I want to say here is that venture capital is simply just business. It's startups. And a startup can be a hot dog stand. It could be your kid's lemonade stand. It doesn't have to necessarily be with a VC and there's an investor. And that's usually where things grow. But it can be totally organic. And I think a lot of the miscommunication, misunderstanding about what is venture capital is mostly because it's presented in a different way to institutional investors than what it really is. In other words, when VCs are selling deals, they're trying to create a buzz for a deal. So they're going to just talk up their deal, whatever that may be, and they're not going to say anything bad about it. And that's a little tricky because in investment markets like Wall Street people, if they're talking up their deals, there's rules that they have to follow. For example, you should not make an unbalanced statement. You can't say something is good without saying that it also might be bad. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but basically you have to have balanced language. So you can't say this is the greatest thing and there's no risk. That would be not allowed according to the rules. And of course people do that, but they get fined, they get caught, and the Wall Street regulators have a pretty good balancing mechanism to keep the wild animals behind their fences. Because they're virtual fences. There's nothing, only the rules are preventing people from having aggressive behavior. Those rules don't apply in venture capital. So a VC can say whatever he wants. He's not regulated. So he can say that this company, Amazon, is going to take over the world. I mean, the guy from OpenAI, Sam Altman, said that OpenAI is going to solve climate change, which I don't understand how that's possible, but he can say whatever he wants. Someone could say that my product is going to cure cancer. I mean, there are literally no rules. And that's another reason why they stay private, because if they were public CEOs can't make statements without having some substantiation, and they can't make statements that don't have a basis in fact. So the VCs have this public image that they promote, and a lot of that is talking up their own deals or talking up their own whole portfolio, whether that be one company or another. The companies, it doesn't matter what we're talking about here, is that venture capital is sort of big business that's been commoditized, meaning it's a huge global business rather than your local startup. But every startup in venture capital starts on an organic grassroots level, even if it starts from the VCs in their hometown. Just like Steve Jobs in the story of starting Apple Computer in a garage, which is basically true. You can start a business in your basement, in your garage, or now with computers, really just at your computer. Your computer is a whole office. You have an entire set of assistants and tools that you can use. You can use AI to write articles for you. You don't even need a staff. So a startup could be a student on a laptop in his spare time while he's not studying and going to college. So when you hear venture capital, don't think asset class, don't think guys in suits, don't think VCs necessarily. I mean, the VCs clearly control the VC market. They have billions and billions in capital, and they have all the right connections, and they have the track record, and they can't do anything wrong, right? But venture capital is also your neighbor's startup, your neighbor that wants to start an ice cream shop or a martial arts dojo or whatever it may be. Maybe he wants to design a new kind of helicopter or a new type of computer mouse. It really could be anything. Anything that is a business that can help people and solve an economic problem and make money. And basically the money element always comes from solving an economic problem. That's the essence of venture capital, is that the businesses that investors want to invest in are businesses that solve problems. It can be a big problem, it can be a small problem, but they want it to be scalable. They don't want it to just apply to the town where you live or to a very limited amount of people, because that's not scalable. There's another test of VC deals that investors often talk about. Is a deal investable? Like, for example, if you have one person doing everything and he's an inventor and he's just doing from A to Z and he's not good at delegating and he's kind of a one-man show, that's probably not an investable business because it can't be scaled. You're basically investing in this guy, so you might as well just hire this guy because there's no telling there's no way to control it if it's a single individual. So a business must be scalable and investable for there to be venture capital. And like I said, the venture capital could be a neighbor investing in a kid's lemonade stand. It doesn't have to be a venture capital deal. But some businesses, many family businesses, are just not investable because of a number of reasons. Maybe the family just runs this business and they may have many relatives. It may not just be the immediate family. It may be cousins and things like gas stations, for example. You've got tons of gas stations that are owned by families, and the kids and cousins come and work, and it's just a family business. But you can't invest in a gas station. You can invest in a gas station franchise like Pilot or some of the other chains, Waggles. But again, those businesses are not just gas stations. They've branched out into oil and they do all kinds of other things as well. So you're really investing in a whole business, not just a single location, which is just a good example of something that's not investable, not venture capital, and not scalable. So those are some differences there. The best thing to do is to speak to people who are in the business, and we have an Udemy course to learn about venture capital. It's not expensive, and anybody who signs up will give them a free paperback copy of the book about investing in private markets. We want to demystify venture capital because at the end of the day, it's fun. Would you rather buy IBM stock? And I'm not knocking IBM, but let's just say, for sake of argument, would you rather buy IBM stock or invest $10,000 in your neighbor's lemonade stand? Now, of course, you don't want to lose money. So I'm not suggesting that anybody just invest because of things they like and not make money. You should always do your due diligence, always look at if something is suitable for you. Is something really viable? A lot of people will have some crazy ideas. I remember my favorite crazy idea. I had a guy that he had kind of a rich uncle type of situation, and the guy just couldn't keep a job, and he was kind of just one of those couch surfing type of guys. And he convinced his parents, and he was 50-something years old at this time, to give him $90,000. This was in the 90s, for a knife sharpening business. And it was like a food truck. He had like a trailer with this big thing, and it had a stone wheel and all this stuff, and he would just take it to various places where he was allowed and offer to sharpen people's knives. And obviously it failed, but just because someone has an idea and they're excited doesn't mean it's a good idea to invest. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that venture capital is cool. So anybody can do the exact same thing that the VCs do. There's no magic, there's no secrets. It's just a question of following a bunch of steps. And as you get further into it, that can be laid out for you. And the people who invest with the VCs, because another thing is you can invest with the VCs. That's real passive investing. It's access to deals that they're selling. But if you're willing to do your own homework and your own research, you can find equivalent deals yourself. And many investors do that. So you can do both. There's no right or wrong way. That's what's fun about it. It's just the conversation. It's about the narrative of creating the next society that we're going to live in. Business creates society, not the other way around. Airbnb, Apple Computer. I'm using a computer right now. If it wasn't for Apple, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Apple created a PC revolution where people have computers in their own homes. You can take any startup and look at the paradigm they created 20, 30 years later. Something like 80% of new job growth comes from startups, new job creation. even though the startups, if you look at the whole market cap of the whole industry, are a very minor percentage of what the mega caps are. But they create more new jobs. So it's an amazing space. So you're creating value. When you invest in successful startups, they're going to hire people. They're going to solve an economic problem. They're going to create value. I was just in Bentonville, Arkansas, where Walmart is, and Walmart is a startup. Let's not mince words. All these businesses that were started, it's an old startup, but I went and I saw the first Walton's 5 and Dime, and it was closed. It's a museum, so I couldn't go inside, but we walked by it and I took some videos. It was funny, they had a Walmart food truck. I've never seen a Walmart food truck. But in Bentonville is a remote rural town, but you can see all the money that's been spent on the city. And we went to a kids museum, and it's the coolest kids museum. I mean, it beats the one in Atlanta, it beats the one in Charlotte, it beats the one in Chicago. It's just the coolest kids museum I've ever seen. I was interested in, they had a topographic sand thing where it's shown the 3D terrain map, and then when you make the mountain, it would be a different color. It was an amazing museum. Had a great time. And of course, when you enter the museum, there's this big plaque with all the families that made this possible, and there you go. It's the Walton Family Foundation, the Sam Walton Trust, the Scott family, the toilet paper manufacturer, and all the Walmart vendors who are required to be in Bentonville as part of Walmart's policy. The money is there in the community, and it not only creates jobs, they pay for their philanthropy, and foundations pay for all kinds of civic projects of all kinds. And that's real venture capital. Sam Walton started a business out of nothing. There was nothing, and then there was Walmart. So that's why venture capital is really cool, because you're getting involved in things at the very early stage, the seed stage, and you're helping them and watching them grow. It's a passion of mine. I've always been an entrepreneur, and I never really, until like 5 years ago, connected the dots on venture capital and entrepreneurship. I always thought that venture capital was more kind of high finance. And it's really not. It's just that what's happened, the deals have become so bloated with capital because the VCs have so much money. I mean, the problem is, how much did the VCs make on Walmart? Or I'm not sure that Sam had external investors, but on some of these deals, like Uber, the seed investors in Uber made like 500,000% returns. So what happens is these VCs make billions of dollars, and then where do they invest that billions of dollars? In more startups. And then some of those startups make billions of dollars, and so they just have money flowing out of their ears. And so they've kind of institutionalized entrepreneurialism in a way, because it's really about just your getting dirty startup. You're making a hot dog stand or something simple. It's basically like Shark Tank. And it's the only TV show I really like, Shark Tank. It's a great show. I love all the sharks equally. And some of the people who come on, that's kind of hit or miss. But the sharks are super professional, even when they're aggressive and sharky. That's what VC is all about. You've got the investors are sharks. They want to get their piece of flesh. But they're providing the needed capital, and in many cases the expertise and much more. Many of these VCs have accelerators where they're training you, they're providing maybe programming expertise or maybe some outsourced services that are going to help your business without taking on that additional cost burden. So it's really where it's at as far as creating new markets that didn't exist before. So it's blue oceans versus red oceans. Now, of course, if you go up the scale, now Walmart is the establishment. So now Walmart is the red ocean competing with Target and everyone else. But in the early days, it was a new idea. And of course, people told Sam, you can't do this. I mean, it's not scalable, because there were tons of local five and dime stores. It was kind of like the 1950s version of the general store. There were tons of them. every small town had one, and they don't really exist anymore. They're still around, but you can do anything in venture capital. That's the idea. So if, for example, you're interested in entrepreneurialism and you don't think you want to get involved in venture capital like a career or profession, then be an issuer, start a business, right? I mean, there's all different ways to get involved. You just don't want to think about all the headaches. Get a job at a startup. It's a lot easier to get hired at a startup than it is at someone like Microsoft or IBM that's well established. So there's lots of ways to get involved. It's super exciting. Check out our Udemy course. Follow us on YouTube. Go to vccross.com. Register for your free account. We'll send you a free book if you want. Just reach out to us. We'll help you. We'll guide you. And there's a lot of opportunities for all kinds of people depending on what you want to do. There's something for everyone. Even if you're retired and you just want to have fun and look at deals, maybe you don't want to invest, maybe you want to be a scout and look for startups, look for issuers. So there's all different ways to get involved. So it's not just about investing, although that's the thing that most people want to do. But it's super exciting to be involved in this market. So we look forward to seeing you on the other side of some tables. This is Joseph Gillette with Venture Capital Cross. Have a great day.